We got another resume review from Francisco. First thing we always do is talk about our first impression. So I want to zoom out, and right off the bat, it looks fine. It's one page, so that's really, really good. It's organized. If I skim through this, I see esports, operations manager, gaming officer, which doesn't mean much to me because I personally don't know what that is, but esports director is on there. Okay, so we have tech stuff, IT, analyst, intern, and then I'm seeing like 2 years of experience to the present. You graduated in 2020, so you're a recent grad and you're still working, which is really cool. And you're in California. Right now, I see an organized resume, esports experience, and nothing turns me off on this resume, which is really great. I would say that just looking at the resume, it's not memorable, but that's not necessarily a really bad thing. I don't expect everyone's resume to become like this beautiful work of art that you're a graphic designer and you make something like super flashy, but it's really clean. My one critique so far is that I wish there was more white space. Pretty much feels like a block of text. Nothing draws my eye anywhere specifically except the name. But again, I don't think these are necessarily really, really bad things. And I think maybe we can increase the space you have on your resume by going through and breaking down and trying to keep things as concise as possible, and maybe taking out some bullet points. But otherwise, this looks like you have a lot of experience. This is your work experience, and it covers like the majority of your resume. So I think that's good. So right now, I want to say, will I read this resume? And right now it's yes. So that's good. Francisco, what are you looking for? Okay, so Francisco, let's do that. Francisco wants to work on partnerships and community outreach. It's so funny. I used to believe that too, and now I severely disagree with how useless a summary is. If your summary is, I am a college grad looking for a job, that is useless. Actually, it's not that useless because at least I know you're a college graduate, right? But you are saying, this is my first impression that you are going to have of me, right? So as I read through this, my first impression is this, right? Does this work experience tell me who you are fully? Does it tell me your goals? Does it tell me like you want to do partnership and community outreach? Maybe some community stuff, but I'm like, this person wants to be operations manager. Oh wait, this person might want to be a general manager. Maybe he wants to be a coach. Oh, maybe he wants to do community management. Is he looking to be part of an esports org? Is he looking to be part of gaming? Like, these are all the questions I have, right? But if you have a summary that's useful, that tells you who you are, what your goals are, what you're trying to do, and how you might be a fit for the organization or the job you're applying for, suddenly you are telling me what first impression I should have of you. So then it's not up for chance. It's not up for the first few bullet points. It's not up for the chance that I read everything and get a holistic understanding of who you are. You're telling me that right away with a summary versus me maybe reading your full resume and then coming to the right conclusion that you're trying to make about who you are. Show a good example, but let's just look at it as about, right? This is forcing your first impression. Besides this stuff, this is like the second first impression. Successful technology executive and general manager. He's led big teams, lots of money, a variety of different products, which dropping names like Prime Video and Twitch Prime. Hands-on leader, 60 patents, so an inventor. Parallel passionate about mentoring and development for coaching, and his expertise is building teams that get stuff done, right? So now I think this is what's called anchoring, right? By him saying this stuff, now I have an idea of who this person is. Like my thought is anchored around the first impression that he creates. And then when I read all of his experience, I'm thinking about all this stuff, right? I'm thinking about how he's made millions of dollars. And then I look at every single one of these things and think about like, oh, these were all, I might be thinking like these are all profitable roles that he's had. Oh, this explains like how he's built teams. Oh, this thing explains like how he's an executive coach. And then I start thinking about, oh, this is his passion. This is a side project, right? So you're forcing this first impression. He's forcing a first impression that you either go, I like this person, or this person is what I'm looking for, or this person's not what I'm looking for. And then every other thing on the resume or when I look through his profile and his experiences are all centered around this anchor point, right? So by anchoring any idea, whether it's price, numbers, who you are, you set the tone for the conversation. But yeah, that's why I really, really like summaries. Summaries are so important to me because it sets the tone. It forces them. You have more control over your first impression because most people think that you need to read the whole people make the resumes, so you need to see the whole resume to get the holistic idea of who this person is and like all the things that they've done. But very little people read the full resume. And then this is also a place where in esports and gaming and this kind of industry where like passion is really important. So that's also another place where you can kind of like hint at like I care about video games, I care about esports, I'm passionate about it because I'm a TSM fan or whatever like you say because you're applying for TSM. Those are places where you can kind of like sprinkle those clues about who you are so that they're thinking about that. Because also right now, your work experience, like my first impression is that you're involved in coaching. Let's say you worked with, in college, you actually worked with a big organization like TESPA, who's like the collegiate organization for Blizzard, right? But that was like down here in the middle of your resume. But that's like really impressive and you want to talk a lot about that, but it's like if you're trying to organize your resume reverse chronological order, it's hard to put it at the top of your resume. Well, with the summary, you can start talking about that right away. So that's what I really like about summaries. You can force that first impression. That's really, really good. All right, so let's jump into the work experience. So this is a new job. You haven't done too much yet with it, or at least it looks like it. A big thing I want to see is impact. Always talk about impact. So what did this do? Did developing a coaching practice curriculum increase efficiencies? Right? And numbers are even better. Right? If you're able to say improves efficiency by 50%, make sure you're able to back that up and it doesn't sound super fluffy. That's helpful. So I don't see much here. Like you mentioned that this is a new esports organization. Like you could have made a Discord for 5 people. If you're moderating 100 people, that's a lot of people to moderate. And I think you can even see like how much chat activity and volume is happening, right? So if you're able to show me the impact of what you've done, that gives more legitimacy to what you're able to do. Because if you say that, if I know that you've created, if you've moderated a community of 1,000 people, that means something to me versus if you're moderated a community of 5 people or 10 people. So don't forget to add impact. I think this is always missing in a lot of people's resumes. And this is what will make your resume stand out versus look like everyone else's resume too. Because so many people aren't putting impact. Tournament organizers for several LoL and Valorant events. Organize 3+ esports panels with Team. So see, you saying organize 3+ esports panels with Team Liquid, that says a lot to me. And again, let's say this answer was no, right? Would I actually read through this resume? You saying Team Liquid suddenly changes that. You saying Logitech, Twitch, HyperX, like these organizations, something means you're giving me legitimacy because these are big organizations. So if you're able to actually work with them or contact them or whatever, that means more to me. So I might not have seen that skimming through. And I would think about if you want to work with partnerships and community outreach, what is the big bullet points you want to put. I know this line is more of the explainer of to like what you did here. But I would even say putting this higher, maybe this line higher, this line higher if you're talking about community outreach. This would be the lowest. I think this would be the lowest thing. Because there's some community outreach here, but I think the other stuff is more important for partnerships and community. And again, I think putting numbers and impact on these would be really helpful. Knowing that you actually got some of these sponsors would be really helpful. I'm guessing maybe Team Liquid since you made a connection, but these are questions that I don't have answered, and they're big assumptions because they could be totally mutually exclusive. But again, if you don't have impressive numbers, then I think that's okay to omit them. Because you don't want someone to look at the numbers and dismiss you, be like, oh, those are too small, right? I'd rather keep it questionable so that they don't know, and they would have to ask you in an interview where you get a chance to explain and talk about it. Like, oh, this was something that I only had 2 weeks to work on. It was a lower priority. Social media was a lower priority because we saw higher gains in our efforts by going out and getting sponsor decks because we knew that we'd have high attendees because of word of mouth and excitement of it. So we didn't really need to focus on social media as much because we thought with our limited resources, our approach X, Y, and Z would have been much better. So then be like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you only have 2 people coordinating this huge event. That's crazy. So yeah, you don't have time to do social media if you think that there's better ways to use your time, right? Those are the ways you can explain it in an interview. If you have unimpressive numbers, but you want to talk about like this is experience that you have. Student information systems and technology. Assisted or remote work. This is really cool. So I really like doing these Googles for action verbs. Assisted is a bit of a weak one, right? I think even though you literally might have just assisted, I think there's better ways to portray yourself, right? Yeah, collaborate, facilitate, I think are good. Because assisted just kind of sounds like, which again, it could be true, where someone did everything or the majority of the hard legwork and you just did the easy stuff, right? But if you say collaborated, that suddenly puts you in a different light, like, oh, you're easy to work with, you can communicate with someone, you can work together with other people in a team environment. So collaborate in the transition of remote work, like I think is a lot stronger when it comes to action words. So, okay, so honestly, I probably wouldn't read through this stuff. Just because this is not relevant to me. I think, let's say you wanted to put a summary in this, which I think you should, maybe making this a lot smaller, maybe 2 bullet points, because again, this experience is not stuff I need to know about you unless the job application or job posting says something like this. And think about like, what are these things? What are the experiences in here that match a job posting, right? Maybe they say familiar with AV systems, right? Because you'll be working with community outreach, maybe you'll be community events. So you know how to the things that are required when it comes to a live broadcast or something, or event planning. That is useful. So talk about those things, right? If they say like, oh, we were looking for a collaborator, maybe like then suddenly this bullet point is really, really important where you can say you collaborated on multiple projects that include like something really big where you've helped 500 staff members or 27 student apartments, like these kind of things. And then suddenly you shape these bullet points rather than talking about all your experiences in IT, talk about the experiences that really, really matter to that person. Because again, looking through this, I'm like, oh, I'm not looking for ITs. If I was not looking for IT stuff, I just skip over this. And this is suddenly might be a waste of space that you could use to create more room, more white space in your resume, to make your resume breathe better, or to even include a summary. Action AI, junior IT, sysadmin, intern. Again, assisted in. Yeah, so these are all, I mean, you're an intern, right? So I know that you're going to be doing a lot of busy work. Maybe you'll have a project that you're in charge of, but there's a lot of guidance to these stuff. So I know that picking really strong words and saying impressive things like I led a project that did crazy things is is a little harder. But yeah, try to add a little more impact. Focus on the things that like, what did I learn from this? What skills did I generate from this that would make sense for the job posting? Otherwise, I think again you could keep this down to a shorter bullet point because none of this would seem relevant to me. Ghostly Bear Games. This is cool because now I know you worked at a game development company. That's really cool. There are two skills in here that would be very important to highlight, and it's not being done the correct way here because again, you're just talking about your job responsibilities rather than like the value that you're provided and the skills that you've proven through these things. So I'd really think about that here. And again, this would be tailored to what the job is looking for, right? This is like when they say talk about detail oriented, like that's somewhere you can talk about this note taking stuff where you're detail oriented and organized. I think you could shape this in a way that you created notes or you took notes for these sprint meetings that 20 plus people in your group was able to look back at to make sure that they know that all the to-dos that they have are met. I think talking about playtesting, organizing data for people to look through and to compile it into a cohesive like presentation or whatever is something that's more interesting, would be more interesting to me and show you in a better light, those experiences in a better light. Yeah, see, Atomic Freeze says, yeah, I didn't know how much of my regular work experience needed to show for an esports position unless it was an IT one. And that's the thing, like, you're just out of college, right? You're not going to have tons of experience, right? And you actually have a lot of experience, at least what it feels like, right? You worked 2 years here. So this is still valuable because someone that's coming out of college that has work experience, and I would say professional work experience rather than like volunteer esports stuff or their own like YouTube channel, like these kind of things, this means something because you didn't get fired. You worked somewhere, you made bosses happy, you made people that are in a more professional or established work environment and working with people, professional people. That says a lot about who you are and what you're able to do, right? On top of that, while working, you were able to find these things, founded an esports club. You look like you created impact and paved a way for future people in your college to do things because you're passionate about it, or you knew that you wanted to do esports, so you need to gain experience. So that still says a lot about who you are. And again, maybe this is a way there's a way to get this across without too wordy of a summary or too long of a summary. Education, I like that the stuff is in the bottom. I like that it's easy to find. I think making these sections gray is kind of weird, but not a big deal. I might make these like blue actually. I changed the colors so I could easily see how this all separates. How this all separates very, very clearly. I think we saw a resume like this with Taylor's. This one. How this was organized. I can easily see where the sections are. Yeah, but I like these at the bottom. What I was trying to say is that because if I need to look at, hey, I need someone with partnership experience so they have this software or social media management skills or skills with specific things, I can just jump to the technical skills and try to find them, and then throw away the resume or keep the resume based off of that. Global studies, minor with anthropology, dean's honor. That's cool. This is good too because if people are in the Greek system, that helps. But I really like how this is really condensed because I can still see everything very quickly and you don't need to take that much space with it. So I like the way you condense this. So my conclusions, I think it's really important that you add an executive summary. Executive summary that forces the first impression you want the hiring manager to have of you. I think make sure there is impact, hopefully numbers. It doesn't all have to be numbers. Some things they don't need to be measured with numbers. with your work experience, action verbs, and reduce unrelated experiences / make them relevant. I think those are like the big things right there. I think your resume is good. It's very good. Good start. It's a great general resume. Now I want to make sure that it's a effective resume for a job application. Like this is what you have in a Google Doc or whatever that you always work off of. Maybe the Google Doc's longer so you can have more bullet points. And then when you actually figure out specifically what jobs you're for, you're like, I'm going to pull out bullet point 1, 3, and 4 onto my resume to apply for the Team Liquid partnership position. And then get it all down to one page. Cool. Thank you, Francisco, aka Atomic Freeze. It's a good resume.